We only need 12% to make this company go. You guys know we revenue shared $202 million last year. Does everybody know that number? $202 million. It's not really far out to think that we're going to revenue share in the next 4 years $1 billion. Probably more. Only 12% of our agents are involved in that. Why? I know the 80-20 rule, the 90-10 rule. For some reason, you have to learn another skill in order to recruit people. I sold homes. I sold 120 homes a year, 3 years in a row. I was top 20 in the state for Remax. Blah, blah, blah. Who cares? When you recruit agents, it's totally different. I've been doing it since 1989. You guys are weird. Every single one of you are different. Every single one of you have different needs. So what I want to just share with you is the opportunity is now. How many people do you talk to and they go, hey, is it time? You know, you guys got in early. You know, you did it, you know. You know the CLCA? 8 years ago when I did this and I sold 6 offices in the region to come here, they called me crazy. Literally the first 20 agents I talked to were all my best friends in real estate. They all turned me down. You are crazy. That company has 400 agents. You were at Keller Williams for 21 years. What the heck are you doing? So in all your markets, when you first start, they're going to call you crazy. And a couple of years later, it started to work. They called me lucky. then literally 7 or 8 years later, when I'm making more in rev share than the top 66 people combined at Keller Williams in profit share, just so you know, that's real combined. They call me a crook. Because there's no way you can make that much money, right? CLCC. Now the A part is, now they're calling me for advice. If you're starting in a new market, you're going to go through those phases, every single one of you. So there's so many markets we're not in. There's so many people that literally don't know about us. That we just got somebody 6 months ago in Austin, Texas, where Elizabeth Riley and I started this thing, and he had never heard about eXp. And we have 9,000, 10,000 agents in Texas. He goes, no, I don't even know what you guys are. I've never seen your sign. Because agents put their blinders on. So I want you guys to know this is your time, 23, 24, and 25, because of the Boost program that I'll let you talk about, and things, the Boost program, I'll let you talk about that. It's going to be monumental.
Game changer.
I'm the only person, AJ, that was ready for a down market. I was praying for a down market because too many brokers I talked to were doing too well. And now it's time, so we're going to be blessed to help them.
Yeah, I won't share much. You guys have all seen me cry.
Do that.
I feel like I've hustled quite a bit in this industry. Sold a lot of houses, helped a lot of agents, and there's just nothing. I've never had more fun than the last 3 years, and there's nothing more leveraged that we could possibly do with our time than focus on bringing agents over. And when you first get started, if you're newer to it, you're like, man, I hope this thing is good. I'm like calling all my friends, and let's all do this together. And it'll take time. Some people will just come over, and some people, we've got a big player coming over this week that he was like one of the first people I reached out to. So it took him every bit of 2 years and 10 months to wrap his head around this thing. And what made it happen was that his top agent does like 30 million of his 100 million, said that she was leaving and joining an eXp brokerage. And he's like, we're moving to eXp. He called me and it's like, we're moving. I'm like, okay, well that helps. But there's just nothing cooler that I've ever done in my professional life than this, and just to build it with all of you, and now to switch toward helping all of you. The base is there for me, and now it's like who else can we bring in, and not even in my group necessarily. If any of you need help at any point in your journey, bringing someone in and a different perspective. From the hardest no that you will ever know around eXp was me, and now I'm totally solved all conversion over here. So if you guys need anything, we're all here for you. And I said it the other night on Monday, but some of you will go through some stuff, even personally, and it's not all up and to the right, in every area of your life. So as you guys hit those bumps and you get down, and just reach out to somebody, make the connections at these events, and on a personal level, just know that we're fighting for each other in all the areas of life that matter.
So you guys might not realize that 5 years ago, like the first build event, it wasn't called build, but it was the first event that Brent actually did for eXp as a recruiting event, and it was about this size in Scottsdale, Arizona, and pretty much maybe a little bit more than this.
That's awesome.
I mean, it was, we didn't even have microphones. And I was talking to Aaron last night, and I think you maybe had an epiphany, and I had an epiphany at the same time. It was a moment we shared.
Yeah.
But you were just like, so this is basically just like Brent's event. It's not EXP, or this is like the events that we're doing.
It's like a lunch and learn at scale.
Exactly. And you're like, I can do this.
I can do that.
Like, how many agents were at your last event?
50.
Yeah. Like, that's how this starts. Like, the first lunch and learns we started doing in Charlotte had like 5 people. And then we were doing 8 a week with like 15 to 20 at each one.
Yeah, so my name is Aaron Novello. I'm from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I have 142 agents, 24 frontline qualifying agents. I've been with the company for 13 months.
Wow. And just to put that in perspective, I was right around the same size he is right now, a year in. So, you hear, well, I'm too late, or you got in early. He's right on track where I was 6 years ago. Yeah. So congratulations, man. What's been your biggest rev share month so far?
15,000.
15,000. That's awesome. Stacy.
Stacy Peterson. I'm from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. My org size is 600. My FLQAs are 24, 2.5 years. 42,000.
I've been in 6 years. Kathy Burns from North Carolina. I've got 8 qualifiers, 182, 7 levels deep. My biggest check's been a little over 9,000, but it won't be that way for long.
That's right. And I, when you're on stage, you forget to say some things. I know we both forgot to say some things, but one of the things I wanted to say on the stage was when I shared that hole analogy, I wanted to follow it up with, like, when you're digging your hole, it doesn't matter how deep your hole gets, how wide, how big. It doesn't matter what someone else's hole, like how big their hole is. Like, don't compare it. It doesn't matter. What matters is the hole you're digging, does it lead to water that satisfies your soul, passions, and desires? It's not about what others have. It's about, like, what is your dream? And we get lost too much in large share. Don't compare your insides to others' outsides.
Oh man,
and that's
my
really
biggest rev
important.
share check was last month, 18,500.
That's huge. And you just broke
Just getting
number
started.
25 on the Game Changers ranking report yesterday. Congrats. Jose. Jose's still here?
Yeah, there. I have 186, 17 FLAs, and then 10 FLQAs. And the best thing that I did was bring Aaron on.
I told him he's going to have a little picture of me in his house, and every time he walks by, he'll be like,
And I believe it, and I'm okay with it.
And this is the thing, guys. You're one agent away from your life changing. You might have to sit there and chip away for a long time to find that one, or you might find them right away. It doesn't matter, but one leg can grow you deep. It's a really beautiful thing.
Yes.
And what's your biggest month?
Yeah.
It's 13,700.
Wow.
But I agree with you on it. All it takes is one
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
Changes the right leader changes the entire org.
And you want to kiss him now?
Sometimes you gotta go through a lot to find the gold. Will and Veronica.
Go ahead, baby.
Well, I'm Veronica with Boston, Massachusetts. We have 64 agents, 19 FLAs, and 14 FLQAs. Our biggest month was 7,200.
Nice. Is there anyone that I missed that has over 50 in their organization? Caggiano, you're on my list.
Yeah, I'm getting my voice back. My son gave me his cold. So, so 150 in the organization, 26 FLAs, and about 17 FLQAs right now.
Biggest rep share check?
I had 170 at one time last year, so at that time I had 22,000 as a rep share check.
Beautiful.
And I do have a picture of Lars and Stacy in their dining room that I kiss every day. My wife doesn't mind if Stacy's on there at all.
I just want to say, acknowledge Robert and Aurora. Their group size is like 10 right now, but watching Robert work this event with one of the recruits he had here, Tom, who committed to joining independent brokerage of 12. Where's Tom at? So he committed joining. But like when you get to these events, you gotta work them. Like Robert is like, you've been in front of everyone, Tom. Like, I'm like, why are you even coming to meet with me today? You've already seen everybody. Like that's what you gotta do. And I love when people are at the beginning because it's just special being there and seeing like how diligent you are to the opportunity. You just gotta show up. You gotta put in the work. As you've seen, there's so many people that want to help you.
Real quick, and I'm a numbers guy, so I'm going to focus on some of the numbers. You know, when you know others are making like more than you are, but $10,000 a month in this model is like having $2.4 million in the bank.
Yes.
So if you don't have $2.4 million in the bank, I promise you getting to a 10,000 revenue share monthly consistently is 1,000 times easier.
Yes.
You know, so as you're sort of like, I could hear it in Debbie's voice in particular, you know, a little bit like I wish it was more. It's like having $2 million in the bank. And I don't know if you have a separate $2 million, but 8,500 is literally an asset worth $2 million. And it's like, when you think of it like that, it's like, holy cow. You know, so, I mean, it comes in like $1,000 increments. But whatever the math is on every 1,000 is like a couple $100,000 of a net worth equivalent. So just from the numbers perspective, that's what really got me over the hump. Like, holy cow! You know, the residual leverage side of this it's unlike anything you could possibly do.
Yeah.
How many rental properties would you need to generate $8,500 a month?
Yeah.
Like maybe 40. You know, so it's wild.
So we got 2 more people that I want to share, and then we'll wrap it up and get to the conference. There's probably lots of coffee left, so if you guys want to take some to go, that'd be awesome. Lars, share your numbers.
Oh, my numbers. Talk too much. I had a moment the other day. It was with Chris where I had literally run out of words in the middle of a conversation because I'm not really extroverted. I don't know if you remember the moment. You said something, I had no words.
I bailed you out.
Yeah, you did. And then I recovered and it was okay. So for me, what is it? It's like 1550 in the organization. I think I've brought in 50. It's at like 39 now. So I've had some folks leave. 31 FLQAs. So the 30 that does help me a little bit. What's that?
Level 7.
Level 7 is 25. 25 agents on level 7. My biggest check, I think I'm going to be getting my biggest check in about a week, but my biggest was $101,000.
In the bank for that.
I track it on my tracker, so I do a 3-month rolling average of, and it's like it's like $22, $24 million. And I don't have that much money on the other side, so it's magic.
And I'll share, I have 72 FLAs, 6,540, I think, right now. And,
I need more in the next 30 minutes.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to check. Biggest rep share check was 237,000, which is pretty good. I think I'll hit 300 this summer. What's crazy, whoever made the comment, like back when like 100 was like the big number, like wow, they got 100 agents. I remember being in a very small room, like 100 people, this is Port of Vallarta, 2017, 2018, and Rob Flick, who's here, has over 19,000 agents now. He's at the conference. Started the conference out at like 97,000 in pending rev share, and we were all blown away. I had like 60 agents at the time, and he's like, we're gonna refresh it at the end of the day and see how much it was.
Wow.
And he broke 103 for the first time.
Wow.
And now he has 19,000 agents, so you can imagine what he's earning.
Weekly.
Yeah, that's like weekly. Yeah, like twice a week.
Yeah.
I remember when AJ shared with John and I, it was at the Brendan Burchard Mastermind in Miami, I think, on the boat. And he's like, he was wanting to have a conversation about eXp. I don't even know what it was, but he's like, I just hit 200 in my, and John and I were like, I don't even know what he's talking
sharing
about.
good news with a friend.
Yeah, we were like, I don't know what he's talking about, let's just go get another drink. But like, that was 200 agents, and I remember you hit 2,000, I forget what the exact time frame was, but it was a 10x in a few short years.
Yeah.
Like, so this is the kind of thing that getting to 20 is hard, because that's all your rejection and you're going through everyone you know, then it just grows easier over time. You know, so it's like a log sort of, I don't know if you're into Bitcoin, but look at everything on a log scale, and it's like a log sort of growth. So it's just
It's the best opportunity we'll probably ever have in our lives, guys.
Yeah.
So take advantage of it. Don't be the person 3 to 5 years from now looking around at everyone else here like, I wish I would just show up and do the work. You know, and you're just still grinding away, you know, doing all the things you don't want to be doing, missing out on all the things you want to be doing. So thank you guys so much for coming. Really appreciate everyone here. Give everyone a round of applause just for showing up.
We're here in Cabos, San Lucas with some rock stars in the Elite Builders Nation. I wanted to get everybody together to have this conversation with you guys. We have about 90 years of real estate experience in the real estate business. We all came from various different backgrounds, different geographic locations. We also came to the same conclusion, which is that eXp, this model, this opportunity, really was the opportunity that we'd been preparing ourselves for our whole career. So I thought it would be helpful and useful for those of you who may be on the fence, who may be kind of behind a wall, and that wall could be thinking, that wall could be misperception in terms of what it actually is, to hear from those who have made that transition, whether it's 20 months ago like me, or within the last year like Jess, to see what was their barrier, right? Kind of mentally, what was getting in the way, what caused you to actually see it, and then what your guys' experience has been since you made the transition. Mark, I know you, like me, owned part of a office and sold it back in order to participate in this opportunity. And I'm aware that that requires a lot of intestinal fortitude. It requires you seeing more long-term value somewhere else. That's the only reason why you would do that, right? So, perhaps if you could share what was your kind of resistance to that at first, because I know I wasn't the first person to have a conversation with you about eXp, and what caused you to see it, and then what your experience has been since you've made the transition.
So, for me, the resistance was a 15-year relationship in being very comfortable. Very comfortable where I already was. And by nature, I'm a real loyal person. And so that's a 15-year relationship that it was a barrier for me to get past. And then I had ownership in the market center that I was in, and I started to see some of the financials and become aware that after you had made your transition. And so then I started watching real closely, and as I see the financials, it helped me see the writing on the wall, where the market started to shift, and now we had significant expenses. And I became very clear that it wasn't going to get any better. What helped me go beyond the barrier, quite frankly, was you. You were the tip of the spear, so to speak, that guided and let me see where the opportunity was. Because for a long time, I was on that transaction treadmill. Here I'd been doing real estate for the past 22 years. And what I observed was, here I invested in real estate, I invested in stocks, I invested in a title company and in a market center, and I still didn't see a very clear picture as to how I was going to get off that transaction treadmill.
And that's super interesting because you did pretty much everything right, right?
Yeah.
You were getting small pieces of ancillary businesses or ancillary services, imagining that would produce enough cash flow where you could get off this transaction treadmill. And despite doing that, looking around, you were making some money.
Yeah.
It certainly was not enough money to support your lifestyle if you decided to stop selling real estate.
Correct.
Is that accurate?
Yeah. And then after having been here a year now, what's interesting is looking back, just if you look at the opportunity in stock alone that I've been awarded and that I've been able to receive at a discount, I've amassed about $32,000, $33,000. Had I done that 15 years ago when I first started with the office, I'd have over $350,000. So I was blind probably up until maybe even 6 months ago when I saw just how real it was.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, and I'm super privileged and proud to be in partnership with you.
Likewise.
Yeah, so, and Jess, what I'm aware of is for you made a pretty solid transition. I was actually coaching you at the time. You picked up, just moved from New Jersey to Texas, which is a pretty drastic cultural move. You didn't know a soul. That first calendar year, I think you did like 50 transactions, which is awesome, 52, something like that, 15 million in volume. And what was interesting is at the time, I believe I had a conversation with you, and you actually decided to go someplace else. Yeah, She's like, yeah, yeah. And so perhaps maybe walk people through what the barrier was in terms of thinking for you to like actually see it, and then what caused you to see it, and then what your experience has been, because you've really like blossomed and thrived in this model over the last, I don't know, 15 months.
Thank you for that. So I have a quick question for Mark. Mark, you said that you used to own part of an office. Mm-hmm. Do you know how much your overhead was there?
Yeah, at the time our overhead was like $85,000 a month.
Oh goodness. So in order for you to be profitable, you had to cover that.
Yeah.
Interesting, because part of your question was like why I decided to make the move and leave. Mm-hmm. I kept trying to grow a team because the only way I saw to grow, to be able to handle the volume that we wanted to do, was with collaboration, having other people involved. Mm-hmm. And it just, I was constantly training my competition. And I, you know, a lot of people get tired of that. Many of you have experienced it, where you've poured into someone, you've done everything you can, and now they're your best competitor. So I had that experience. Something to look out for is what he kind of touched on. There's a lot of brokerages right now who, in order to gain you as their agent, are going to offer you a sign-on bonus.
And that's what happened with you, yeah.
He's right. I was moving to a new market. I was leaving my financial stability in a partner, and this brokerage offered me a very healthy sign-on bonus. Be very clear, that is not your money. The minute you leave, you are expected to pay that entire bonus back. Mm-hmm. And even if you stay, at some point when you retire, they expect a part of that bonus back. Mm-hmm. It is not your money. Mm-hmm. So when I left to come to eXp, you know, I was expected to pay back that full $100,000. I was also stripped of my pendings, and I was not allowed to take my active listings with me. And I still would do it 10 times.
Yeah, and I guess I'm wondering because, you know, it's interesting because we were having a conversation as somebody who now has conversations with agents about, you know, making transitions. And it's very interesting to me that the vast majority of agents do not read ICAs. What was interesting is Dan's been in business for like 25 years. He said to me out loud, he's like, what's an ICA? So it's what I'm aware of is that most agents don't read that. And they don't read the fine print in terms of, you know, because what that model essentially is we're going to give you a payday advance. Mm-hmm. And we're going to have you sign a contract for a specific allotment of time. So that way you're stationary. Mm-hmm. It has a split that never caps. So you're going to give it all back to them, really, over time. And if you do decide to leave or want to transition, there's clawback mechanisms. And it's just that people don't read. We had one agent who made a transition recently and buried 2 addendums deep was that if he left, they kept 50% of the pendings, right? So it's just something to be like aware of. At the same time, I'm also aware that for you at that time making that transition, what they offered you was like meaningful, right? Mm-hmm. So I understood why you decided to take it. And then what caused you to say like, okay, I am willing to walk away from a meaningful amount of money, a meaningful like pendings, listings, because I think that this opportunity is best long-term?
Because I kept hitting a ceiling. Probably a lot of brokers and team leaders feel that way, that they're almost stuck. Like, we're doing all the things, right? Mark, you're doing all the things. Why am I still like struggling to break through the next, you know, stage? And when you have children, or if you have a big, robust life, you don't want to stay in the same place forever. You want to grow. You want to constantly be evolving. And that just wasn't possible where I was at, in the model that I was in.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then in the last, however many months it's been, 12 months, for the first maybe 6 months, you know, we would have conversations. I have the good fortune, I've coached you for a while. And, you know, you're focused on production, and that was going well. And then once the light bulb went off with regards to this attraction thing, in the last maybe 6 or 7 months, you've attracted how many agents?
5 total and 6 have left.
Yeah. Okay. So that's
39 is the
39.
agent count
There
right
you
now.
go. We're agents. We like to make numbers sound bigger. You know what I'm saying? So, but that's dope. And what I'm aware of is now, instead of just selling something, now you're building something. Yeah, and that's awesome. So it's a privilege and a pleasure to be in partnership with you.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, for sure. Backhand. So I guess we can go now to Daniel.
Dan the man.
Dan the man. We've been working together for how long, Dan?
Since 2017.
2017. So what I'm aware of is like this is really relationships plus value over time.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and all of these are like meaningful relationships. I've known Mark for 15, 16 years?
16 years.
16 years.
And I know you because of Dan.
Yeah, so it's really cool how that works. I've known her since she's 18 years old, you know what I'm saying? So...
Yeah.
Does she still look the same?
Yes, yeah, in my opinion. Yeah, in my opinion.
Yes, good answer.
Better.
So you were at a very traditional kind of boutique, local brokerage firm. Being that you were at that boutique firm, I know they were big on like relationships.
Yes,
they were big
huge
on
relationships.
Huge on relationships. And you'd been there for a long time, no?
12 years.
Were they the only kind of initially in real estate? No, you've been in for a long time. So you were with someone else prior to that?
No, that was, I came right out of real estate school and went right there.
Right there.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're there for an extended period of time. And I'm sure, I have to imagine, because you were, producing, doing good volume, that other brokerages had approached you, whether they be franchises, perhaps eXp, other models.
They did.
And your mind was closed at that time, right?
Well, every time that I would get approached and would go to my broker there or the manager, they would match whatever I was being offered.
I see. Which, you know what I find really interesting about that, Dan? It's kind of like this thing, it's like, well, wait a minute, let me get this right. So you were taking advantage of me before, and now that I say I'm going to leave, you're going to give me a little bit better deal. Like, that's super interesting to me.
And that's exactly what happened.
So you kept doing that, and that kept happening.
Yes.
Right? And I guess that could have went on in perpetuity, forever. So what was the thing that caused you to see that there was something different?
We were having a discussion one day, and it was, I remember like it was yesterday. We took what I made with that company, and then you were like, this is what you would have made here.
Yeah.
And it was tens of thousands of dollars.
It was meaningful.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I said, okay. And you're like, this is the opportunity.
Yeah, and then I'm wondering, because I know for a lot of people, Mark had mentioned it, like relationship.
Yes.
And I'm respectful of that, like I get that. I'm also aware that, it's a business decision. And as a business decision, so even though you saw the difference, did you immediately be like, okay, let's go? Or did it take a little bit to come to that conclusion?
It took a little bit, but here's what I'll speak of on that. So, because I know a lot of agents that are with that brokerage and another brokerage that focuses a lot on relationships.
Sure.
Events, they do get-togethers, dinners, bowling, all that stuff. And yes, that's important. Of course, camaraderie is important. But at the end of the day, I don't go to my job for camaraderie. I go to my job to make money.
Sure.
And when we just broke it down, it was like, look, you can still go this way, and if you want to like go and do these events with these people, that's fine. You're gonna make what you're making. You're not gonna be able to grow anymore. And take yourself and branch yourself out to whatever your goals and destiny is going to be. And that's what I saw.
That's exactly right. So because in that environment, you were selling something or you weren't building something.
Correct.
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
And really what you were doing was building somebody else's asset, because if they were to sell that asset, you wouldn't participate in that.
Yeah.
They'd be like, thanks, Dan.
And I think at the end of the day, it was difficult for me because I had built this is 12 years we're talking.
Yeah, sure.
I knew them, and do I wish it could have been, easier and more amicable when I left? Yes. But at the same time, it was purely what you said, it was a business decision. I knew that if I was going to move and go where we are, that I would be able to branch out, coach, mentor agents, if I can better somebody else's life in a shorter amount of time than what I did, there isn't anything better for me. Because again, and I say this a lot, I don't have a wife, I don't have children. So, my why is every other agent out there that I know this model will benefit them exponentially just by taking advantage of what this model offers.
That's right. Yeah, you've been helping lots of people running the role play group for us for the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
So then you made that transition, right? Well, first you made a transition before that.
Yes, we did.
And then I came back to you like, I don't know, maybe like
let's go there, exactly.
15 months later and was like, hey bro, I've been doing
Yeah.
some more tinkering in the lab.
Yes.
I found something that's better. And I remember you looked at me on the coaching call, you're like,
I was like,
really bro? Like, is that really what we're
yes,
doing?
that's
And I was
exactly-
like,
I said, really? And you're like, yeah, man, like this, you got to look at this and look at this. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay.
yeah.
And
Okay.
I was like, okay. And I took it home and I let it marinate for a few days. And I was like, listen, man. And this is where the relationships plus value over time comes in. If you've done the work, you personally, and are coming to me and are saying, Dan, this is a better way, and I've already taken advantage of it.
Sure.
There isn't anything else that I need to know.
Yeah.
Tell me where to sign. Tell me where we're going, and this is where we're going to be.
Yeah, yeah. And I knew also as well, like, I took 2 months to study it, right? To make sure, because I was just like you guys, like a very hard no, because I owned part of an office.
You owned an office.
So I figured, I was like, okay, I got this figured out, like I'm good. But the most expensive thing you can own is a closed mind. And mine was closed for a while, and I'm so grateful that my brother from another mother, Jose, every time I would talk to him, which I talk to him regularly, at the end he'd be like, yo, when you come to eXp? Like every single time, right? So finally I took a meeting, and then once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. But I took the time to study it for 2 months because I recognized that I needed it to be, I know I have a little bit of influence, and I wanted to make sure that it wasn't just good for me, that it would be good for everyone. Yeah. So what's really kind of beautiful about this is, I've had the good fortune of coaching everyone that's here, except you. I know what your goals and objectives are. I know what your dreams are. So it was like I was looking at this model and saying like, hey, will this help me accomplish my goals and objectives? And most importantly, would it help everyone else accomplish their goals and objectives? Yeah. And once I determined that was the case, it was like, all right, cool. So then you actually made that transition.
I did, and you said a phrase that I use a lot when I'm talking to other people. Is look, once you see this, you can't erase it from your mind.
You can't unsee it.
Once you cannot unsee this model and what the power of compounding has with this model.
Sure.
And when you showed it to me, there was just, again, it was no turning back. It was an immediate, all right, you know what? Like, this is right. I shouldn't say it's immediate. I took a few days and I thought about it, let it marinate, and I was like, no, you know what? He vetted it. You trust him, unconditionally. So that was the end of that.
Yeah. So for anybody that's listening out there, whether it's us or someone else, like find someone who has a demonstrated track record of good judgment, which is really what Dan's saying, right? And if they have a demonstrated track record of good judgment and a demonstrated track record of performance.
Well, that's the other thing that gives you credibility.
Right.
Is you've actually sold 100 homes a year, 10 years in a row, 200 homes a year twice.
Yeah, but
that's credible.
Who's counting? I don't know. But yeah, like, whether it's me or anybody else or anybody that's sitting here, find somebody that has a demonstrated track record and get proximity to them. So once you made that transition, not only did you immediately drop money to the bottom line, because there was a capping mechanism. Number two, you got proximity at a super high level, right? With people that are operating at very high frequencies and accomplishing big things. Number three, you got equity because you'd been working at another company for 12 years and received zero equity. I like to tell people all the time, I was the top agent in an office for 15 years. I owned part of it. And when I left that company, I left with some hats and some pieces of plastic and no money. It's unbelievable.
And we invested. And we put
money in.
To get that equity.
That's right.
We had to buy in.
Right. So like that's absolutely unbelievable. And it's interesting because when I tell agents like, hey, you can get equity. And I'm like, yeah, the company has $100+ million in the bank, debt free, stock pays a dividend. When I say that to them, they're like, well, why would I care if my company makes money or not? I'm like, you don't because you don't own any of it. That's like caring if your landlord makes money off your rent. Right. Often copied, but never duplicated. What's up, team? I got with me Mr. John Mikish, 2,300?
2,300, yeah.
2,300
Yesterday
agents.
We hit 2,300.
In the organization with eXp. I've been with eXp going on 20 months, 274 agents in the organization, trying to be like...
That's amazing growth though, dude, in your time.
Trying to be like this guy when I grow up. We have conversations regularly because teamwork makes the dream work.
Yeah.
And collaboration is the new currency. And we have conversations regularly with agents. A lot of these agents are highly productive. They're looking to have conversations and potentially make a change from a traditional firm or one that is a traditional firm that pretends that they're not. Right? And we were talking off camera about how amazing it is that most agents don't read ICAs. They don't actually.
Well, did you read your last like update to your iPhone agreement? Like it comes through, you just like click, click, click.
Oh, that's true, dude.
We don't ever read that stuff.
Yeah. And in reading it though, you can really get a clear understanding of what that brokerage firm's business model is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or I would even say this, what their future intentions are for that business. Because, you know, I'll talk to real agents a lot, right? And they don't even know what they can't do. Their independent contractor agreement says that they can't offer out any free leads, any free coaching, any type of additional support, anything to encourage an agent to maybe sign up with that company and name them as their sponsor. Their independent contractor agreement literally says they can't do it. They can't throw events, they can't do lunch and learns, they can't do anything. Now, we know a lot of agents are doing those things, but my question to them is, what happens when they enforce it?
Yeah.
Like, are you willing to risk everything you're gonna build so that one day they say, hey, you've been in violation of this all along, now we're taking that away from you?
Yeah. And it's kind of interesting that it's in the agreement and other people are doing it, but they're just like, okay, why? Because that's what you have to do in order to, you know, to really attract and add value. And I think it also is handicapping an agent from being entrepreneurial.
Yes.
And adding value. Because my experience in this game is it's relationships plus value over time.
Yeah, I think, you know, when people come in second and they're like, I'm gonna copy this but make it quote unquote better. Yeah. What they typically do is they'll look at the landscape and they'll find where are the complainers, where are people disgruntled, like what is that? And one of the things that they'll say about eXp sometimes is that it's siloed, like that's the word that they use. Is like, well, there's all these big organizations in the company and, you know, everybody's competing for the agents. And to one extent that's true, but I don't really find it to be a problem. Like when I worked at RE/MAX for 5 years, we were a very high producing RE/MAX. We had top agents in our market, you know, on many different levels. And I would find that most of the time when I was competing for a listing, I was competing against another RE/MAX agent. We were the best brokerage in town. So to me, it was just like part of the deal. Like I have to sell myself at the end of the day. The company that I'm with is the opportunity that I'm running my business on. But whether that's me selling real estate at RE/MAX or me building rev share at eXp, like at the end of the day, like I'm selling me.
Yeah.
And if I can't sell me, what am I selling?
Yeah.
All I can sell is the company then. And so, you know, I'll use Real as an example. I think that there's a lot of things that they are claiming to be that are either in direct conflict to what their independent contractor says they actually are, or it's just not true. You know, and they're saying, well, you know, we know that some eXp agents were mad that this didn't work out perfectly for them. And that's going to happen in any business, especially when growing as fast as ours. But I just, you know, when we look at who innovated this space, Glenn Sanford innovated it, he changed it, right? It's never going to be the same.
Yeah.
Real's going to come along. There's going to be countless other companies like them that are going after a revenue share, profit sharing model, if you will. And really we could say, hey, Glenn innovated it through revenue share, but he really took it out of a page of the playbook that was Keller Williams with profit share. He just got into profit share and realized it didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
He had 1,800 people and nobody was making money.
And recognize that rev share exists in that model. It just goes to a very, very, very small group of individuals.
That's correct.
That's really what's true. And to your point, you know, I had this awareness hearing Glenn today speak that he's the one that's actually innovated.
Yep.
He's the one that created something new. So these other models that are coming behind it are copycats.
Yes.
No matter what they say.
Yep.
And what they're doing is tinkering with perhaps like some numbers and put a different color and flag on it and say, oh, this is new.
Yeah.
When in fact it's not new at all. Right?
Well, one of my favorite things that I get if I'm like out there and, you know, I'm talking to somebody and they're like, well, I heard Real was good and, you know, I'm looking at eXp, but they've been around for a while. And they're like, I'm going to go with Real because they're like the new thing and I'm going to have an opportunity similar to what the opportunity was with eXp. And I just find that hilarious because here's the deal. If you've ever read the book, The Blue Ocean Strategy, it's all about this concept of a new business model is outside of the box of the norm and it's a blue ocean. Like it's, you know, plentiful feeding and it's just clear blue water. But then what happens is when somebody sees that they're having success over there, they all want a piece of that pie too. And that's what we're seeing in our industry now. People like Real, people like Epic, LPT, these new companies are coming in, basically copying our model, saying that they're gonna do what we did. But how does that make sense when we did what we did in a blue ocean and it's now a red ocean? Meaning you now will never have that blue ocean space again because we've changed the model. And until somebody changes the model again, somehow, some way, we're in a red ocean now.
That's right.
So if you think you're gonna step into this competitive market space where you have companies like eXp that dominate, that are super profitable, and you're gonna have the same trajectory inside of that red ocean, you're very misguided.
It's an unrealistic expectation.
Very unrealistic.
And I think what they're being sold is this idea that like the product is what's going to cause that to happen. It's like, well, wait a minute. The product is a copycat of another product. It's like coming out with another kind of flavor of Coke or something.
Right.
Like you tinkered with the recipe. It's like, oh, we're great. We're going to be just as big as Coke. It's like, well, good luck with that.
Yeah.
And I also hear, it's because it seems like a talking point. Like one was the silo. The other talking point I hear is like, well, it's oversaturated.
Yeah.
And to that, I'm like, well, okay, I appreciate that. At the same time, I've been with the company for 20 months. And currently our organization sits at 274 agents. Like, is it oversaturated? There are people in my market that have like 1,000 agents, 2,000 agents.
Yeah.
And we're still growing and building.
Yeah, and it's global, you know, so there's countries that we're just going into now that we literally just opened. So ground floor, huge opportunity, and we're getting like our first couple hundred agents there, and there's room to go to 100,000 very conservatively in that country.
Yeah.
You know, when we talk about Brazil and New Zealand and Spain, like these countries have enormous opportunity, and we just got there. So, you know, we're going to 100 countries, we're going to 1 million agents worldwide, we're at 90,000. We're still very much as an industry at the left side of that bell curve.
Yes.
Because, you know, hey, there's room for everybody. Like I believe that other companies can be successful in this space. It's just then it gets into like brass tacks of like, where are you most likely to be the most successful?
Correct.
And have the greatest opportunity. And when we start laying out the different bullet points of eXp and what they offer, I don't think anybody comes close.
Yeah.
We pay out on 7 levels. A lot of copycat companies are only paying out on 5.
Mm-hmm.
We pay more. You know, when we look at these other copycat companies and we're like, well, what are you guys making over there? And we see like, oh, the number one person in that company, in their model, in revenue share, makes less than some of my people in my organization make in a month, in a year.
Yeah.
What are you doing? What's your opportunity? So I think these are all important things that we have to consider. And I would just say this, what are you gonna build? Because at the end of the day, these companies are platforms now. That's what they are.
Yeah.
And you can stand alone and the platform can be your whole opportunity and it can be your whole front and center. But I would argue that you should be branding and building you.
100%.
And our company supports that not only from an infrastructure side, but they actually encourage it.
Yeah, support and encourage. And I think the false misperception is people imagining that a product will do all of that for you. And it's not what's accurate because the model's the model, right?
That's
so,
right.
So Instagram is a platform, YouTube is a platform, TikTok is a platform. And people imagine because they sell them like a product, yo, you're gonna blow up. But the truth is like, you have to be talented, you have to add a lot of value, you have to put time, energy, effort, and resources, you have to take risk, right? Like that's what's gonna actually cause that to compound and multiply.
Right. I mean, it's a leadership opportunity at the end of the day. And, you know, I think that's why a lot of us who are leading brokerages, like an independent like I had, or you were leading teams, you know, like you were leading before you came to eXp, we're just transferring that leadership to a new opportunity with much more greater rewards. So I love it. I feel firmly that we have the proven leadership. No other company in our space has proven leadership yet. And there's a big difference between growing from, you know, 0 to 10,000 versus 10,000 to 20,000 versus 20,000 to 50,000. Like those periods of great growth also come with a great cost. Like the cost of scaling at those different points is difficult. Most companies don't make it. We've not only gotten through it, but through it all, our leadership has always made the right decisions for us and to protect our opportunity. And to me, that carries a lot of weight. Are there agents that are at any company that maybe are less than desirable? Absolutely. There's people in the real estate industry that are less than desirable, but that doesn't mean that I get out of the industry. So we can't use some of these things that they say as excuses. We, at the end of the day, need to show up and say, what did I do? What did I build? and how am I going to see a vision for myself and my people in the future? And we need to lead them into that.
Yeah, I love that. It really is about leadership and duplication. So I think that you're one of the most learned on models. You understand them very well, you study them. So maybe what we could do for the agents or whoever's watching is just talk very specifically brass tacks of differences. Because I find it incredibly frustrating when agents come on a call and they're like, oh, like this is the same.
Yeah.
And I'm like, nah, dude, it's not. So let's take on a case-by-case basis, because I know the comp plan is drastically different.
So one of the biggest things about the comp plan that's a little bit harder to quantify and reconcile with on the front end is that we get paid out on 7 levels and Real gets paid out on 5 levels.
And explain why that's such a huge difference. I understand it. But.
So, you know, in the beginning, you're not gonna have people on your 6th and 7th level. But as it grows, as it builds, you're gonna have a lot of people on those lower levels. In a mature organization with proper compounding, those are gonna be the biggest levels you have. Case in point, above me, so I'm part of somebody's 7th levels, right? Above me, I have the top 6 people in the world for eXp, okay? When you talk to those 6 people, across the board, 80% of the income that they make today comes from their levels 6 and 7.
Yeah.
Now, let's just rewind the tape a minute. Let's say they had built at a competitor's company and they had 5 levels. And let's just say, for simple math, let's just say that one opportunity with 7 levels pays $1 million a year. But 80% of that income is coming from levels 6 and 7. That means if you went to the company that had 5 levels, instead of making $1 million, you'd make 200,000.
It's wild. And I think what is important for people to understand is the reason why the 6th and the 7th are the biggest is because of compounding.
Correct.
Because I know what Real has said is like, well, what we're gonna do is you'll make more money on the first couple levels.
Yeah.
Because it's like, the way I described it to somebody recently, I'm like, it's like a magic trick. It's like, hey, don't pay attention to the 6th and 7th. You know what I'm saying?
No, they want to distract you from that.
And what I'm aware of is that those first 2, particularly the first, is dependent on your personal efforts.
Yes.
And I mean, I've been coming to these events now for 2 years, and it is exceptionally rare to find somebody that has personally attracted 50 to 100 agents.
Totally.
It's very, very
handful
rare.
of people in the whole company.
Like a handful of people in the whole company. So what
I'm actually proud of the opposite of that. When I show people kind of like what my journey's been here at eXp, I'm like, hey, you know, you're a top producer, you're a top team leader, you run an amazing brokerage. This is kind of what it's like, is everything in your life is dependent on your effort. But at eXp, it's not.
Right.
And I think that's the most beautiful thing. When I look at my organization today, over 2,300 people, my personal efforts, the people that I recruited, represent 1.7% of what I get paid on today.
Which is so important in terms of comp plan and models.
Yes.
So that's what's important that I wanted to bring up. So if there's an agent out there who's listening to this and considering different models, if rev share is part of your plan,
yes.
If it's part of your retirement process, if it's part of getting you off the transaction treadmill, then this is very, very important.
Yeah, and this is like one of like 10
piece.
key points.
Yeah.
I think though, what I'll get sometimes is like revenue share is not that important to me.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that I've heard come up lately is like our competitors are trying to get the focus off of revenue share because they know our model's superior.
Yeah.
And they're like, but we're like one big happy family over here. And it's like, we are too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's nothing that I wouldn't do. I've flown across the country to events for you and whatnot. We are too. And some of our organizations are bigger than these other entire companies.
Yes.
So siloed or not, like we're all there for each other and we're all there to help each other. But it really matters that like you start to think through revenue share because, you know, the reason that these companies exist, the reason that we're all here today is because we've done it the way without revenue share. We got burnt out. We were on the hamster wheel.
Today, we interviewed a billionaire. Have you ever interviewed a billionaire before?
First time.
First time. What exactly is an FLQA?
And what percentage of Amazon does
Bezos owns like 10%.
He's a billionaire. Yeah. People think that you have to own 100% of something, and they won't give pieces of the pie away.
Once you get people thinking like owners, they treat the business differently. They treat the company differently, for sure.
Let's make sure that we're rewarding the younger agent. It's actually more well-rounded in terms of the rev share.
We're a family, kumbaya.
We're a family, but if you watch their actions, their actions are completely different than what they're saying. So this is the part that I was tripping out. How much production would you have to do to own a piece of your brokerage?
I always ask agents, I'm like, did you go to the office? And they're like, no. And I'm like, did it matter? Let's check it out.
Hey everybody, Jose Luis Morales here and
Aaron Novello, and we have with us the founder of eXp himself, Mr. Glenn Sanford. We really appreciate you taking some time to be with us here today, Glenn. And I wanted to say to you formally, thank you very much for the opportunity, for seeing what it is that you saw, and for having the kind of mindset and the mental map that as you give away pieces of the pie gets bigger for everybody.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that's the and that is the sort of the basic secret. You saw the one slide yesterday. Somebody had the Zig Ziglar quote: "You can have anything you want in life if you just help other people get what they want."
Yes.
And that's the whole idea. That's the idea of the pie always getting bigger, based on creating ways to help more people.
Yeah, and maybe you can talk a little bit about that very big decision, which is directly in alignment with that, which is to lower the amount of FLQAs that are required in order to unlock all 7 levels. Was that part of that decision-making process?
Yeah.
When Glenn was answering that question, I wanted to break that down, right? Because one of the questions that me and Jose get all the time is, what exactly is an FLQA? And it stands for Frontline Qualifying Agent. And what it means is that if you have brought somebody to the company and they've put you down as the reason why they joined the company, then if they do at least $5,000 worth of commission dollars to eXp, right? So there's a $16,000 cap, and as long as they pay $5,000 towards that cap, they become an FLQA. And the FLQAs, the certain number of them, they unlock subsequent lines of rev share. Now, this is a very key distinction, because some of the things that me and Jose, people have been sharing with us is they think, about like Real or these other companies. And what I want to share with you right now is that Real has a different compensation plan where you must have a certain amount of FLQAs in order to unlock subsequent lines of rev share. And if you don't have those FLQAs, you will receive no rev share on those subsequent lines. Versus with eXp, you will receive rev share on subsequent lines even if you don't have the appropriate number of FLQAs. It just won't be the full amount. So if you're interested and sincerely going to be focused on agent attraction, that's a super key distinction between compensation plans.
Yeah. What I liked about that part of the interview too is I liked how you opened it up with a compliment.
Well, thank you.
So I think that's a really good way to start and I noticed you do that a lot of times.
Yeah.
Whenever you start talking to somebody, you either say, "Oh, I watched this video of yours," or "I appreciate you," or "I appreciate that."
Yeah.
I think that's a gift. So just want to compliment you on that.
Thanks, brother.
The other thing that I noticed is that he said if you help enough people get what they want in life, you can have anything that you want.
Yeah.
And that's really the key to having anything that you want in life, is you're helping other people get what they want. So like, even as I transition more into rev share, what I'm thinking, hey, I'm going to help people produce more in real estate.
Which is what they want.
Which is what they want. And that's going to give me everything that I want and need, basically. But in order for me to get to what I want, I got to help them get to what they want.
Yeah, that's critical. And the other thing that I want everybody to be clear on too is that eXp very recently made a big change. And the change is previously the compensation plan was in order to unlock all 7 levels. So in other words, in order to get full rev share on all 7 levels, you're still going to get it on all 7 even if you don't have the appropriate frontline qualifying agents. In order to get the full amount, in the past you needed 40 FLQAs. So you needed 40 agents that you personally have recruited that have paid at least $5,000 in company dollar, right? So they do a few transactions a year, and they recently lowered that to 30.
Yeah.
And what was so interesting and what you'll see when we, go back to the video is the thought behind that. The reason behind that is that Glenn wanted to make that more attainable for more agents, right? which I think is awesome. And in my opinion, it's also slamming the kind of the gas pedal down, you know, in terms of growth. And again, that goes in alignment with as you make the pie, as you give pieces of the pie away, the pie gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
That you read my mind about sharing a piece of the pie. A lot of people think that the way to make it is to sometimes even run their own company or start their own company. And they'd rather own 100% of a $500,000 company versus 1% of a $1 billion
That's
company.
right.
Like what does Amazon, what percentage of Amazon does
Bezos own? Like 10%.
Of Amazon. And he's that 10%.
He's like one of the richest guys in the world, if not the richest.
He's a billionaire.
So same with Elon. He only owns like 20% of like his company.
And that's what I love about that. Like a lot of times people think that you have to own 100% of something, like any type of business, and they won't give pieces of the pie away, not knowing that if you give pieces of the pie away, it actually builds a much bigger pie. And even if you have a 10% percentage, like maybe somebody like Glenn or Elon or Jeff Bezos, that you're still a billionaire in that sense. And now everybody's in alignment as to what the goal is, because everyone's thinking like an owner now.
100%. And that's one of the things that we talked about, which is that what it does is it creates an environment in which all of the agents and all of corporate, they feel a sense of ownership versus having like a king at the top or a queen and they own the majority. This is distributed amongst others. And once you get people thinking like owners, they treat the business differently. They treat the company differently, for sure.
Not only that, but it allows you to attract A players as well too, because it's an A opportunity. Like, for example, like I have a broker's license. I could open up my own real estate company if I wanted to. I know agents in my market that opened up their own brokerage. And I'm like, well, why would I go through that where this gives me everything?
You can outsource the brokerage to eXp
without any of the negative or downsides of a brokerage, basically. So
that's awesome.
Cool.
All right, so let's get back to it.
I think one of the things that we recognized is that for very diligent agents that are really building, there were a couple things. One, the economy is a little tougher, so we got agents that are just leaving the business less productive. So it's harder to open up those bigger levels.
Sure.
And then two was we wanted to make it more achievable for the average agent who actually put in the work.
Sure.
And so those are the two things that we thought about. Obviously, we've got some we'll call it some formulas in terms of how we structure the sustainable rev share and adjusted GCI. And the idea was, one, let's make it a little bit easier to get to the larger payouts, but then also at the same time, let's make sure that we're rewarding the younger agent that's in agent attraction as well. So we're kind of bumping up levels 1 through 3 payouts through our AGCI program, and then using some of that other monies to go there, and it really makes it a much more democratized rev share model. And that's really sort of the democratization. So it's not just a select few. It's actually more well-rounded in terms of the rev share.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah. So my takeaway from that is that by augmenting and making it easier to unlock all 7 levels, it's actually being purposeful and intentional to help more people participate at a higher level.
So he's basically giving more money away.
Yes.
What I love about this part, it just showcases how great of a CEO Glenn Sanford is.
Yeah.
I think one of the models that he has is that eXp is the most agent-centric company, meaning that they're consistently going to be making decisions that improve agents' lives. And this is one of those decisions right there. So what came to my mind is there's a lot of companies out there, or a lot of people that will say, I've got your best interest at heart. I'm going to take care of you.
We're a family, kumbaya.
We're a family. But if you watch their actions, their actions are completely different than what they're saying. So my key takeaway from here is when somebody's telling you something, listen to what they're saying, but pay attention to the actions that they're doing.
That's right.
So when I see actions like this, it tells me that his heart and his vision is in the right place for the company.
Agreed, 100%.
Other companies are increasing fees.
Yeah. Well, even then, like I heard this today, like somebody said that one of the companies might be decreasing profit share to a lower percentage.
Yeah.
And when I heard that, I'm like, okay, they are telling you that they like you. They are telling you that they want to help you. But those little decisions, like there's a guy making $1 million, those little decisions cut his income in half to $500,000.
That's right.
Because of a decision that is not really in alignment with helping the agents.
That's agreed. Yeah, 100%. And while companies are increasing fees and reducing what they give to agents, eXp is increasing and lowering boundaries.
Yeah, to make it more achievable.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We're bumping up levels 1, 2, and 3 to increase the AGI. Does that mean that you're going to get paid more on levels 1, 2,
I don't
and 3?
know. I don't know what that means.
That's something, like if he said that, that is big, bro.
Yeah.
That is almost as big as reducing the amount of agents to unlock all 7 levels.
We got to find that out.
We got to find that out, because if he is doing
what is it called? The A what?
Like, watch this. Listen to this part again. And this is the part that I was tripping out when I
Let's
heard
make it a little bit easier to get to the larger payouts, but then also at the same time, let's make sure that we're rewarding the younger agent that's in agent attraction as well. So we're kind of bumping up levels 1 through 3 payouts through our AGCI program, and then using
levels
some
1, 2, 3 through our AGCI program. What is AGCI?
Adjusted gross commission income. It's part of the rev share model. I just don't know what it means. So when he's saying that, what I'm thinking that means is that there's going to be larger payouts potentially on levels 1, 2, and 3. Or it means if you haven't unlocked levels 2 and 3, that they may pay more on the fact that even if you haven't unlocked the levels. That's what I'm thinking.
I think it's probably the second.
The second, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, which that's still
great.
Big right there.
It's huge.
You know, like meaning if you have agents in your 2nd, 3rd, 4th level, like
yeah,
without unlocking them.
That's good. But I think for us to get clarity around that would be helpful.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Really makes it a much more.
By the way, that was one of the things that went over my head.
Yeah.
Where when he said it, it didn't.
I thought he was referring to shrinking the amount of frontline qualifying agents, but that's a nuance.
This is
because he said increasing levels 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
Which means that he'll probably allow for more to be paid out if you don't have the full
frontline
qualifying agents. So it may not be the full amount, but it'll be more than what you were getting before.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Which is still big.
Yeah, it's big.
Once again, it's one of those decisions that isn't aligned.
No, and your point is so interesting. It's like when you have owners whose interests are in alignment, then you make different decisions, right? It makes me think about like Vanguard, or like, where they, all of the investors in Vanguard own Vanguard. So what they do is if there is a savings, they pass it on in the form of lower expense ratios for their index funds. So we all benefit. And this is precisely the formula that Glenn and the executive team is using.
Yeah.
Which is if there's a way, they're going to give back to the owners. And 70% of the company is owned by agents and their founders.
Say it again?
70% of eXp
70%
is owned by agents and their founders. So it's a truly owned agent, like an agent company. And they're part of the S&P 600, which I don't think people really understand how massive that is, because that's an index that you can't pay to get into. You can't politic your way into it. It's just based on economics and the way a business is run. And it's a self-cleansing mechanism. So people are familiar with the S&P 500. Those are the 500 largest large cap companies in the United States. And the S&P 600 is the 600 largest mid cap companies in the United States. And when I say self-cleansing, meaning like if a company doesn't fit the criteria anymore, they kick them out and bring a new one in.
Yeah.
But because of that, what's happened is that the average volume of stocks being shared went from $200,000 to $300,000 a day to $1 million. Because now all of these funds that hold the S&P 600, they have to own eXp. So when you put those all together, you have a company who is owner, kind of has an owner mindset, And if there is a way to redistribute more to the owners and provide more benefit to the owners, then they do that, versus other companies, as revenue has gone down because volume's gone down, they are constricting. They're putting more barriers and boundaries around, sharing, and they're also raising fees.
And that's what I love about the company.
Yeah.
What I love about it is the actions that I see them taking are for the agent.
Period.
And I don't see that at any other company. My question to agents, if you're considering like maybe switching brokerages, my question is, how much production would you have to do to own a piece of your brokerage? For the owner
Like
to
the actual mothership of the company.
Yeah. How much production would you have to do?
I've watched her do something amazing, which is move to a brand new marketplace, start over from scratch where she doesn't know a soul, and within 1 calendar year was doing 52 transactions, about 15 million in volume. This calendar year on track to do about 100 transactions, 30 million in volume. The pride and joy of Dallas, Texas, Mrs. Jessica